Hi everyone, it's Marianne. Welcome to my Oasis Life. In this video, I'll be talking about the 5 things I wish I knew before I started my plant journey. It's been a year since I began my plant journey, and as the next growing season is fast approaching, I think it's a good time to reflect on my first year as a plant parent and talk about the 5 things that I wish I knew before I started my plant journey. These are the things that would definitely made my early stages of plant parenthood a lot easier if I've known to do them or avoided some of the mistakes and pitfalls if I'd approached the start of my plant journey differently. And hopefully these 5 things will also help those of you who are new plant parents or thinking about starting their own plant journey this year. The very first thing I wish I knew is to avoid buying too many plants too soon. All you really need to start your plant journey is one plant. You don't need 5, 10, 50, hundreds of plants before you can call yourself a plant person. Really, and I'm gonna say it again, all you need is one plant. You could kill your first and only plant and still call yourself a plant parent. You don't need Instagram plants or have a very large plant collection before you can be part of the plant community. In fact, when starting your own plant journey, I recommend starting small and starting slow. Get a propagation from a friend, buy a potted basil from your grocery store, adopt that ignored majestic plant from a family member. And again, one plant is all you need to start and keep going on your plant journey. When I started my plant journey, there was definitely that rush to grow my collection and grow it fast. When I watch plant YouTubers or look at Instagram, I see hundreds of plants in their plant tour. They're doing plant hauls and plant unboxing every week. I turn like into a kid in a toy store and I go, I want that, I want that, I want that. I'm very eager to create and build my own indoor jungle for myself. And there's nothing wrong with wanting lots of plants, but more often than not, people we see online that have very large plant collection have been collecting plants and have been plant parents for a very long time. A lot of them are actually experts in indoor gardening and outdoor gardening. So it took a while for them to build up that collection. They didn't just buy all of those plants within 1 month or within one growing season. It took time for them to build up that collection. They're definitely not plant beginners and they know what they're doing when it comes to having that many houseplants. But when I started my plant journey, I'm not gonna lie, I was at garden centers and nurseries almost every day and I would bring home plants almost every week. And that was me restraining myself. The problem with that is if you're a new plant parent and you have that many plants way too soon, you will get overwhelmed and you'll get stressed. And plant parenthood is supposed to be therapeutic. It's supposed to be a form of active meditation. It's supposed to relieve our stress and anxiety, not cause our stress and anxiety. Much of plant parenthood, especially in the early stages, is a lot of trial and error. So if you take on a lot of plants too much too soon and you can't keep up with their needs and the plants get pest pressures or they die, then you feel like a failure when in reality you might just have taken on too much too soon. So before buying your plants, make sure you learn your environment and be honest with your lifestyle so you're only bringing home plants that are right for you and your environment. So you are setting up yourself for success and not for failure. So essentially, you need to have a planned plant parenthood. And if you need some help figuring out which plant is right for you, Submarine Oaks came out with a book last year, How to Make a Plant Love You. And in the end of chapter 7, she has a chart right here to help figure out what plant is right for you based on your lifestyle and your environment. So just for an example, I have a very sunny windowsill. I am attentive when it comes to plants. Then herbs and certain flowering plants are good for you. But if your situation is I have indirect light and sunless window and I'm hands off when it comes to plants, then aglaonemas or aspidistras are good for you. So this is a really good book to check out too if you're also trying to figure out or just want to reflect on your plant journey. So I highly recommend Submarine Oaks book and the link is down below if you're interested in getting it. Number 2, have a houseplant budget. With the exception of trendy plants and rare plants, plants are generally cheap and very affordable, and that kind of enables the plant hoarding. That's why it's important to have a plant budget. Because even if you only buy plants that are only $5, $10, $15, they could quickly add up. It's kind of like going to a store and everything is like 50% off or buy one, get one free. And then when you get to the register, your bill is like $200. So it's kind of like that with plants because think about it, the plant that you buy might be cheap, but you have to buy it pots, fertilizers, soil mixture, and you might want to get gardening tools and some plant accessories. And then later on, you might want to buy a humidifier and some grow lights. So if you let it go out of control, a cheap hobby can get very expensive really quickly without you realizing it. You've also probably seen plant haul videos where they confess breaking their no-buy pack within a week or a month. because making a no-buy pact is like asking a teenager to sign an abstinence pledge instead of teaching them about protection and practicing safe sex. I myself has broken all my no-buy pacts because if I see a trending plan that everyone wants, I want to look for it for myself, and if I see it, I want to buy it. A no-buy gets broken very easily, and there's really no point in making one. But a quick note about trendy plans for new plant parents: don't feel pressured or convince yourself that you want that plant of the moment. Don't feel pressured or convince yourself that you want one of those plants, because when more often than not, you don't really want it and it's not the right plant for you. Especially nowadays when plant trends come and go a lot quicker than when I first started. Like, people online would talk about a certain plant for 2 weeks and then stop talking about it altogether. The 15 minutes of fame of plants go by really fast, and in my experience, the plants that gave me the most joy are the plants that I discovered for myself and found to be right for my environment or bought in my own time, not the plants YouTube or Instagram influenced me to get. And it's not just the amount of money you spend or potentially waste by killing a plant that wasn't right for you. The more plants you have, the more time and energy it takes to properly take care of them. I used to think I could assign a day of the week, like Sunday, to do all of my plant chores, the day I would water my plants, but I find myself taking care of my plants every single day. Eventually, I managed to create a system to track my plants' watering schedule, so I'm not checking all of my plants every day. I just have to tend to the ones that needs watering, and I do some plant maintenance on them at the same time. But I still do end up doing some plant chore every single day, and oftentimes beyond just the plants I need to water for the day. So for me this year, learning from the mistakes of overspending and not having a budget for my houseplants, this year I'm going to set a budget for buying houseplants. I have a budget for other aspects of my lives. I even have a budget for my dogs, so why not for my houseplants? This year I'm thinking that instead of buying plants here and there, and even though they're not plants that I really want, but they're on sale or they're on clearance, they're relatively cheap, so let me get them anyways, I will instead save my money and maybe do a big plant buy for a wish list plant, like a plant that I really wanted for a long time. I still don't see myself spending hundreds of dollars to buy one single plant, but I've seen prices of plants that I really want that are reasonably priced, even though there are a lot more than what I usually pay for plants, but they are reasonably priced. So rather buy a plant that I really want that might cost a little bit more than what I usually pay for plants, than buy lots of plants here and there that might be more affordable, but plants that I don't really want to have. I know some plant YouTubers set aside money they earn from YouTube to buy their houseplants, but my channel is not monetized yet. But I do sell stuff on Etsy and Poshmark, and I'm thinking any money that I make from selling stuff from Etsy and Poshmark, I will set that aside as my houseplant budget. But it's not like it's a constant stream of income, and when there's money coming in from my sales, it's not like I'm earning hundreds of dollars. So to be realistic about it, my Etsy and Poshmark sales will just be my budget for buying houseplants and other stuff that I need for my plant care and maintenance. I'm setting aside another small monthly budget for that from my regular income. One way to make sure that you can stick to your plant budget is to plan ahead of time. You figure out your wish list plans, do your research on them, and figure out the stuff that you really need for your plant care and maintenance, so you can sign the amount of money that you can spend or willing to spend on those items that you need to buy, and also know when you can spend that money on those items. So like for me, I earned some money from Poshmark this month, and I plan to grow some seeds for the upcoming growing season. I made a list of seeds that I want to buy, research where I can buy quality seeds for a good price, and same goes for any tools or supplies that I might need for this project, and if there's anything I can DIY ahead of time so I don't have to buy them or spend a lot of money on buying them, so I can make sure the money I spend for this project is within my budget from my Poshmark revenue. And just a quick shameless promotion, if you want to support this girl's plant hobby, the links to my Etsy and Poshmark are down below. I'm not currently selling anything on my Etsy right now, just because I mainly use my Etsy to sell my plant propagations and stuff. But for my Poshmark, I do sell some secondhand clothes and purses that are in really good condition, and sometimes are actually brand new with tags. So if you want to check them out and want to buy some stuff from me, the link to my Poshmark and Etsy is down below. So in relation to the first two things that I mentioned, avoid buying too many plants too soon and having a plant budget, is number 3, do your research. To help curb the excessive plant hoarding and staying within budget, do the research of the plant or seeds before buying. It's something that we need to do anyways as a good practice to make sure the plants we're bringing home are right for our environment and our lifestyle. I do often find myself in a garden center or nursery and I see a plant and I don't know what it is, but it looks nice or it's priced right and I'm tempted to get it without even knowing what kind of plant it is. And sometimes the fun in Planned Parenthood is finding cool plants, and oftentimes nurseries and garden centers mislabel their plants and price them really low when it could be a valuable rare plant. And I don't want to miss out if I actually found a really good plant and I would regret it if I don't pick it up. But honestly, that rarely happens, especially if you are a plant beginner. Garden centers and nurseries often do mislabel their plants. They price them really low when they could probably charge a lot more for them. And I have gotten plants that should have cost more, but they didn't because they are mislabeled. But until you are more familiar with the different plants, genera, and cultivars and varieties, and really develop an eye for them, more often than not, that mislabeled plant that you bought is not what you think it is. For most people, you'll probably still love and care for that plant anyways, but if you're staying on budget, lessen your plant hoarding and make sure the plants that you bring home are the right plants for you, then do take time to do your research. You can use apps like Google Lens to help you identify the plants on the spot, or just, do a really quick Google search on them so you can find out if this plant is something that you should get or buy for yourself. But if you are unsure what the plant is, I would recommend and hold off on buying. Thing number 4 is learning the language of your plant takes time. When I first started, when to water my plants, what's the right soil mixture, when to repot, which fertilizer to use, when and how to fertilize confused the hell out of me. I would do my research, watch multiple videos, read a lot of blogs, but none of them are really giving me the exact answer I want on how to care for my plant. Because the reality is you can do all the research you need, and you should, because it is good practice so you can set yourself up for success. But at the end of the day, it takes time to learn the specific language of the plant that you brought home. Have you ever watched a video or read a blog on, say, watering Hoyas? And one will say water Hoyas every week, the other say do it every month. Some say would repot it the moment you bring it home. Some say no, wait, let it adjust your environment first before you repot it. And some say, oh, it's okay to use tap water. Some would say, no, don't use tap water, just use distilled or filtered water. And it can get very confusing. But the reason behind that is most of us plant YouTubers, we share our knowledge anecdotally. Like for me, I document my plant journey through my YouTube videos. So I just merely share with you what I know based on my experience on my plants. Of course, I would also do some research. I will also see like what other plant YouTubers are saying when it comes to taking care of a certain plant. And I know also a lot of other YouTubers really do some really extensive research for their videos. But most of our knowledge really is informed by our experience with our own plants. And so we can only go by with what we know. So me taking care of Hoyas in Maryland is very different for someone who takes care of Hoyas in Southern California. Doesn't mean that person is wrong or I'm wrong. It's just that we have very different environments. We have different plants, even though we might have bought them from the same place or from the same grower. So do your research, take notes on how other people are taking care of a similar kind of plant, and see what works for you and for your plant. Because like I said earlier, a lot of Planned Parenthood is trial and error. You just have to be patient and take time to learn the language of your plant, and it will tell you what it means, and you'll eventually learn to read and listen to what your plant needs from you. You will learn whether yellowing leaves is just the natural cycle of the plant, or if the plant is sick and experiencing root rot. You will eventually learn when your plants need water, if it needs to be repotted, if you're putting on too much fertilizer, and you will learn what the hell indirect bright light actually means. And this leads me to my last one, which is something that actually took me a while to learn, but is also the most important, which is growth, not perfection. I'm gonna say it again, growth, not perfection. Plants are imperfect. They're not Instagram ready all the time. I'm not Instagram ready all the time, so why do I expect my plants to be Instagram ready all the time? Plants are perfectly imperfect. Plants take time to grow. When I first started, I want that instant gratification. I want my plants to already trail. I want the leaves to split. I want the plant to flower. I want the roots to grow fast. But that's just not realistic. Unless you buy the plant looking like the way you want to, which I can assure you is going to be very expensive, then this is not just realistic. Plants take time to grow. It's about the journey, not the destination. Everything is always a work in progress. And this is true for whatever stage you are in your Planned Parenthood, not just when you're a plant beginner. You need to be patient and kind with yourself as well as with your plants. You can invest in root hormones, specialized fertilizers, fancy grow lights, and humidifiers, and they might help a little bit. As long as you're giving your plants the right amount of water, light, and soil it needs to the best of your knowledge and ability, then all your plant needs to grow and live up to its full potential is time. So for me, the plant journey is supposed to make you happy, provide a form of active meditation, and be therapeutic. If you are stressing yourself out because of your plants and taking care of your plants has become more of a chore that you hate to do, then it kind of defeats the purpose, doesn't it? Plants will die even if we do all the right things sometimes. We just need to be accepting of that. And sometimes we bring home plants that are not right for us, but sometimes it is us that needs to change our attitude and perspective and not the plant. And if you're someone who has attempted to take care of plant before and they died and you stop because you think you don't have a green thumb, trust me, we've all been there. We are going through it, and I might have officially started my plant journey last year, but it is definitely not my first time that I took care of plants. Plants have always been a part of our lives, whether we realize it or not. Telling yourself to go on a plant journey is merely just becoming more self-aware and more conscious on taking the active steps to reconnect with nature through our houseplants and hopefully inspire us to live a more sustainable lifestyle. So it's never too late or too soon to start or restart your plant journey. If you need that push permission sign that you should start your plant journey in 2020, then this is it. Go embark on your plant journey. I promise you it will be the best thing that you will do this year. Those are the 5 things that I wish I knew before I started my plant journey. Avoid buying too much plants too soon. Have a budget and have a planned plant parenthood. Do my research so I can stay in budget and only bring home plants that are right for me. 4, learning the language of my plants take time. And number 5 is all about growth, not perfection. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope new plant parents out there learned something on my reflections on my first year of my plant journey. And if you like this type of plant reflection videos, let me know down in the comments, because I'm thinking of doing a few more episodes along this line that are not directly plant care tips or about my plant collection, but just reflecting on my plant journey. And I have a few topics in mind, but let me know down in the comments if this is something that you're interested in watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new here, I hope you subscribe. I come up with videos every week. Also follow me on Instagram at @mywiseslife. For the meantime, you can check out these videos right here for more houseplant and sustainable lifestyle content from me, and I'll see you at my next video. Thanks for watching, and I see you, I appreciate you, and have a plentiful day. Bye!